So this latest Nintendo Direct has us wondering, do we actually need another Switch, or are we like good with the Switch currently with all of the games lined up for this year and next?
This latest Nintendo Direct knocked our socks off, I think. I always reserve the right to flip-flop. Not a few weeks ago, we put out a video after they announced everybody 1-2 Switch, that the Switch had one foot in the grave. I'm flip-flopping officially. I'm going completely the other way. I'm doing a 180. The Switch has a lot of life left, and I don't need a Switch 2 right now. Let me have what I have.
We're feeling good about the Switch. I mean, I think all of us are drawing the world's biggest question mark because we didn't know anything after Pikmin. But our questions, our queries have been answered. So we're going to dig into all of that. We're going to do a deep dive into the Nintendo Direct. You and I, unfortunately, were separate for this Nintendo Direct. So it's going to be fun to catch up together finally because I had to react alone. And that was not very fun. But yeah,
yes, the last time
about it with you.
The last time we did a podcast, you were spiraling about the prospect of a Nintendo Direct. So I think it's good. It's only fair to check in on your emotional state before we go any further.
Exactly. I feel okay now. I was like, literally the worst happened. The worst case scenario that could have happened to us last week, which was just so ridiculous. I feel like Nintendo's listening and they just want to make us miserable or something. Because yeah, the worst.
But
it
was fine.
Happened, people.
It was fine.
But it was fine.
I think it was all in your head. It turned out great. You did a great reaction. You can literally do all of this by yourself. You literally don't need me at all. So I may just be announcing my retirement soon, and you can continue to do this. Krysta and Krysta.
Krysta and Krysta podcast.
Yeah.
I might not need you, but you know who I do need is our wonderful Patreon family who saw me through last week when I was doing the stuff by myself. Oh my gosh, like this community, honestly, I have no words. Like you truly feel like you have these people that are behind you supporting you, and it's so interesting and wonderful because I really never thought that we'd be this close to our community, but absolutely they were the linchpin holding me together last week. So if you would like to join our wonderful Patreon community, go to Kit and Krysta. No, go to patreon.com/Kit and Krysta. Wow, I'm really losing it today.
Oh boy.
And they're wonderful and it's great.
If you are listening to this podcast, I am guessing that you might be enjoying it on a weekly basis. What if I told you that you had an opportunity to listen to it at a minimum 24 hours earlier than anybody else? That is what you can get at patreon.com/Kit and Krysta. Wow.
True. That and many other benefits. Our Patreon family gets not only the early access, but they get to be part of our exclusive Discord server, which is where all of the things went down last week. They also get bonus Q&As, which is really, really fun. And we save all the juicy questions for our bonus Q&As.
That's right.
Join us there. There is a free trial and a free tier. So please check it out.
So as you were saying, all the Nintendo Direct stuff is up on the channel if you'd like to see it. Yes. You have your full reaction, which was wonderful. I watched that when I woke up first thing in the morning. We also have our predictions if you want to go back and see what we were right and wrong about. I think we were mostly pretty good with the predictions.
Pretty spot on. I mean, me personally was like almost 100%.
We were very close. So yeah, you should definitely go and check that out. And this will be kind of the bookend of that with this episode that we're doing here. But we also just put out a fun episode, the Zelda Ride or Run in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. We brought back a classic Nintendo Minute Challenge video. We did this in Breath of the Wild, where we really tried to see what is faster, Link on a horse or Link just like running around. And this time it was even more fun because we had a challenge where it's Link running around again on foot, but is he faster than you building and riding a vehicle? But the catch is the build time, the time it takes you to like get all your materials out and build something without auto build counts in the time. So you have to like speed build and be able to, ride it well, which may have caused some stress for some people. I won't say who. Should go watch because there might have been a meltdown. There was definitely a meltdown. So you should watch it.
Simpler is better, I think, is the takeaway from that video.
And Link is
Don't
very
overthink it.
agile.
Yeah.
Link, don't underestimate Linkle. Little Linky.
It's not
He's very
Linkle.
agile. It's a Linky.
Okay.
He's very agile on his feet.
That's right.
He can do the things.
Unencumber him, remove his clothes so he can move a little bit faster. Oh, wait, that's not how this game works.
That's how it works.
We also have another great video on Tears of the Kingdom that is out, where we went out and took and kind of teach you how to do this. Some really great photos with Amiibo out in the wild. This is something that I love to do.
Yeah.
This is something that I've done for years, which is like just go into your backyard or like somewhere outside your house. Sometimes you can even do it inside your house, depending on what the shot you're trying to get is. And you can do really cool like miniature photography that is like breathtaking with the scenery and the perspective and all that stuff.
Yeah, you are a Amiibo photo expert, I would say, because you have done this for so long. And there's so many like fun environments that you've taken photos with Amiibo. And this time, I was really shocked, first of all, by your complete collection of all of the Zelda Amiibo. Very, very impressive. You're definitely going to get the new Amiibo, right?
Absolutely.
And Zelda,
That's right.
yeah. So to keep the complete collection going, but we took the Amiibo out to like really cool, nature locations that look like Hyrule. I loved one of the locations because you found this like little spiky plant that looked really otherworldly. And then when I was looking at the photos again, when I was editing the video, I was like, this is basically a plant from the depths, which was so cool. That even like the stuff that you see down in the depths that look so just like bizarre and otherworldly, you can find them in real life and then take these great Amiibo photos, which was really awesome.
Yeah, people shouldn't underestimate themselves. I mean, the cameras on phones these days are so good. You don't need like a fancy camera or anything at all. Just like go out and try and put them out in situations or places that you think would be interesting, and you can probably do it. That's my tip.
Definitely,
you can probably definitely do it. Yeah.
But anyways, we went to some really cool locations. We took some really beautiful. You took some really beautiful photos, and yeah, check out the video. It's a really fun one.
Now you are just fresh back from
Yes.
the Game Awards 10-year anniversary concert, symphony. What were they calling it?
Concert. Yeah.
Concert.
The Game Awards 10-year anniversary concert. I was just. I literally flew back today from LA. After attending that last night. It was at the Hollywood Bowl, which is such like an iconic concert venue. I've actually never been to the Hollywood Bowl before. I've never seen a concert there, but I've always seen it on TV, like on TV shows and stuff. Where they
remember
like,
it from
scenes.
like old-timey cartoons. They'd have like Bugs Bunny like doing a concert in the Hollywood Bowl. I was like, wow, that looks neat.
There's like Simpsons episodes where they're like sitting outside the Hollywood Bowl listening to like Star Wars concerts and stuff. And like, I've always wanted to see for myself what that was like. It's such an interesting venue, concert venue. Like I love going to concerts. I've been to lots of different concert venues before. This is definitely one of the more unique ones. I didn't realize until like pretty close to the event that this is basically like the Hollywood Bowl's all outdoors. And it has a very strong like picnic vibe, and they really encourage you. Like usually when you go to concert places, they're like, don't bring your outside food and drinks in. No, they like encourage you to bring in your picnic coolers and your picnic baskets and stuff like that. Bring snacks. Like every seat has little picnic tables. So fun. Beautiful. We were very lucky with the weather because it had been pretty cold here in California for the last couple of weeks, but it totally warmed up over the weekend in LA. And it definitely has like that, that iconic like bowl stage. So seeing all the video game music played in that venue was really, really cool. And it ended with this really spectacular fireworks show, which I guess they do at that venue a lot. But it was a great time, and it was really fun to listen to some of these iconic scores.
What were some of the great songs that they had?
So, what was really interesting about this that I thought that I didn't expect. There were definitely some really great songs that obviously from games that I played and loved, like God of War, for example. They had this like really cool singer come out to do the God of War score, and the voice I cannot even describe. It's like it's not like any kind of singing I've ever heard before, but it was so amazing. And just like hearing that live was really cool. But they also had music from games that hasn't even come out yet, like Starfield. They had a big section of Starfield music. And it's really interesting because it's like, well, usually I love music from games because it reminds me of the how, my memories of playing that game, right? So you kind of have like a deeper connection to it. This time it was a little bit different. It's like, oh, it's more so like you're getting kind of like hyped for this game because the music is so great. And of course they always match it to beautiful graphics. And a lot of people, as Jeff was introducing each piece on stage, sounds like a lot of the music teams behind each of the games put together sort of original medleys for this concert. So you are hearing the scores like really done in a way that's perfect for that environment and stage and those musicians. So very cool. And there was a big surprise at the end. So Tenacious D, which is Jack Black's band, was there to perform like a song that they were just touring with. The song's called Video Game, so it was very appropriate. And then at the very, very end, he did Peaches live, which was ridiculous and amazing. Full like Bowser costume, like suit, like the thing, whatever he wore in that music video for Peaches, he was wearing that. The piano was pink. The guy playing the piano was dressed as Toad. He was like rolling around on the ground. He was like on the piano. Like that man is just living his best life, honestly. And I really have to give him like a round of applause for just like embracing all of this and loving it and enjoying every moment, because you can totally tell that he's just like here for it, And it was awesome.
Now,
it was so fun.
Is there a version of Peaches that is more than like a minute and a half? Because in the movie, it's kind of an incomplete song. It gets kind of cut off.
I know. I think the music video version is a little tiny bit longer, but it's not that much. It's like 2 minutes max, probably.
Okay. So he didn't do like the Stairway to Heaven, like 11-minute like jam band version of Peaches.
I wish he did that version of Peaches. That would have been great. But no, it was like a kind of like a little encore at the very end. It was a surprise because Jeff was like, "Don't forget to don't leave after the fireworks. We have a surprise for you."
Oh, it was after the fireworks.
Yeah, that was like.
Did anybody leave though? Did you see anybody leave who missed out?
No one left. No one left.
Left.
Everyone listened.
They knew.
No one's gonna leave. He's like, I highly encourage you to not leave.
I see. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good, guys.
Yeah. Like now, before I sent you a text message at probably a random time. I said, be sure to get some cool footage of that, and you said, oh no, we're not allowed. But as I was looking online, I saw a lot of people posting videos of this. I'm looking at you, Mr. Tim Geddes of Kind of Funny. You posted the video when you weren't supposed to. Uh-oh.
I know. So I didn't know because they were very strict in their email, like their press email that was like, if you accept this press ticket, that means you agree to our photo and video guidelines. And I had written back and I was like, what? Tell me exactly what the guidelines are because I need to know. And they were very like cagey about it. And they were like, well, you can take photos of like the outside, but you can't take photos of the stage or the performances. But I don't know. They did
you do it secret? Did you do it secretly though?
100% yes. I think.
Well,
I think
Tim Geddes is going to video game jail, and you may be soon too.
Well,
I'm already there, but as you can tell by the looks of me.
Yeah, you're already in jail, so it's fine.
But you are working on a video of your trip.
Yes, I will. We have a vlog coming up that will include this trip to see the 10-year anniversary concert. I will be a little sneaky. They did send me some still photos. I did ask them to send me some video, the actual official video, send it to me, and I will use it. But if not, then I'm going to have to be a little sneaky with our video content here. But we'll see.
Yeah, we had
Tim
talked about
Geddes
that.
can do it. I can do it. Okay.
We had talked about that being kind of a crossover video of you doing that and me doing my stuff here in Taiwan. I don't think that's the right way to do it right now. I think it's
You're
better.
Gonna hash that with me right now during this podcast.
We're gonna have our little content meeting right now. I think you should just make it about your trip because it sounds so cool.
Really?
All right. Well, we'll see. Maybe. I am still in Taiwan. I have yet to do my big gaming excursion, but there is something that I have been seeing around here that is very interesting that I want to actually sit down and have a chance to check out in greater detail. It's this big. It doesn't look like a traditional arcade cabinet, but it's basically an arcade game. It's called Pokemon Ga Ole. And it looks like it's somewhat based on Pokemon Go, but it is a different game. So basically you can get these, like, I think they call them chips, and it's basically like a big plastic thing that has some, like, probably like an NFC chip on it or something of certain Pokemon. And then you can scan that into the game and do these battles. And you can get different Pokemon, but it seems to have sort of a gacha component to it where, like, I saw people playing this game who had just like a giant like pillowcase full of these things.
Full of the chips?
Full of the chips, right. Like,
okay, so once you buy the chips, you own the chips. You don't have to give the chips back.
No, you don't have to give it back. There's a lot of games in Japan and Asia that you get some sort of ownable, like a card or something, and you put it out on the table and it scans it in. It's cool. But I have yet to see one of these machines not being just like jam-packed with people. And I looked it up because I was like, I never heard of this thing. I don't know what this is. It seems to be only in non-Japan Asian countries. So like Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, like Korea. I don't think they had a version for mainland China. And it looks like it's made by Marvelous is the developer of it. So I definitely want to go back and put some money into that and get some of those chips and figure that out. So that's a little tease of what I'm going to be doing. Oh my gosh,
that's so cool. I want to see. That seems so interesting because I've never heard of that before, but it sounds really fun. And it just seems like a really cool new way to like interact with Pokemon stuff.
I have no idea if the game is good or not. It may just be a collectathon, but like these people playing it are like way into it. Super into it. I also found, and I'm even more confused about what this is, like kind of next to that one at this like shopping center, there was a Dragon Quest arcade game that had like kind of like a magic wand sort of controller that you could pull out. Nobody was playing that, so I don't know if that's an old game or just not very popular. And the name was not in English, so I couldn't even look it up. Maybe we can include a picture. I took a picture of it. We can include a picture here. And
Google Translate?
People can chime in if they know what Google Translate is really a lifesaver these days, I gotta say.
I know. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
You can do that thing where you take a photo of it and it just translates it live for you.
Yeah, I went to a restaurant where it was just like, we don't have an English menu, and it's like all this like stuff, and like you just put that into Google Translate. It's like, I'm good. I got exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
Way to go, Google.
I can't read Chinese either, so I would need that.
But then it's like 99% of the way there. The 1% is weird though. I got one where it spit out like it was something with eggs, but they called it anthrax eggs. I was like, I'm pretty sure this isn't actually anthrax, but the translation is not making it sound super appetizing for me.
Anthrax tastes so good. So
tasty. I love that.
Yum.
Lastly, we have a hot update, hot off the presses that we want to get in this podcast.
Exclamation mark.
It's kind of a good news, bad news update though. So do you want
the
good
bad news first though?
Let's go with the bad news first.
You have to do bad news first. No one wants the good news
Some people
first.
Might. Some people want that.
No, nobody does.
So, as has been documented, we put our names into the lottery to go to Nintendo Live. We created a Nintendo family account, you and I. We started a family.
Yes,
we did not get chosen, unfortunately.
I should have joined a different family
for this.
Is my takeaway for this.
Somebody at Nintendo was where's the Krysta one? Rip it in half. No.
Nope.
So we didn't get into that. We're feeling okay about it, though. I mean, we saw the real deal in Japan, which I think is
Mhm.
ultimately going to be cooler than what they do here.
Oh,
We also
very
have some
nice.
enterprising Patreon subscribers who
Oh, that's
might
the
be doing
thing.
some stuff for us.
Exactly. We have a army of community members that are here for us, as we learned. And many of them did get into this event. So guess what, Nintendo? You can't stop us! We are thousands strong. I will deploy my little Patreon army into Nintendo Live to do all my little biddings. Get ready, friends. Christopians unite!
You make them sound
Wave
like
the
Pikmin.
flag!
You're going to shoot them in like Pikmin. Hopefully they meet
Oh,
a
they would
better
like
fate
that.
than the Pikmin. Well, you're going to be really
Oh,
deep in video game jail at this point. Between the
I don't
Tim
care.
Geddes incident and the Nintendo
Tim
Live
Geddes
incident.
incident? I
The
was
Tim
not part
Geddes
of
incident.
that. I was not part
You
of
were an
it.
accomplice to Tim Geddes
I wasn't.
and
I
his
didn't
crimes.
even see Tim Geddes. His
So that's a
crimes
bad
against
news.
nature.
The good news is very good. We have also put in our names for a panel at PAX, which just got accepted, which is great news. We did one of
Woohoo!
those at last PAX. We did a live episode
Mhm.
of the podcast. We're going to do that again. So here you can hear for the first time the details. So it's going to be on September 2nd, which is Saturday, 6:30. And the email that we got said that the panel will be streamed. So that's always great news because
Ooh.
not many people can actually go to PAX, but you can actually check out the panel. And like last year,
Yes.
we'll record it and we'll put it out ourselves as well. So a lot of
Yeah.
ways to check that out.
Yeah, and we'll
So
get
so now
training, so that's gonna be fun.
so now you can trade your anxiety over Nintendo Direct with new anxiety over how big the room will be at PAX and whether a single soul will actually come.
I already started thinking about this, but I was glad. I was like, what is we already heard about which theater we're gonna be in, but I don't know what the size of that theater is yet. So I'm, like,
Well, I
already
don't want to
nervous.
get you too worked up, but the email did say
No.
that. Well, it didn't say the size, but it said these are the 3 theaters where we're doing live streaming, and ours is one of the 3. So I'm assuming it's one of the big-ish ones. Why does this stress you out? Let's air this out now.
Oh God.
Explain yourself.
I don't know. I have a couple months to.
I have a few months to work this out. Okay.
I got a few.
All right.
I got a few months to work my way through.
I'm gonna
this,
keep
so I
bugging you
will-
about this. But those are the details. That's great. So our PAX trip is confirmed. We'll be going.
Yes.
We'll be around. Hope to see a lot of you there. And
and
more updates to
I was
come
gonna
on
say,
this panel.
yeah, if all of you guys are going to Nintendo Live, you can come see us at PAX too, which would be really fun.
All right, that's enough of this upfront business. Let's get right into the games that we're playing. And like we said last week, this is our final update on Tears of the Kingdom for the foreseeable future.
Are you going to review this game in this episode? Yes.
Well, I think you really wanted to do that. I don't know if I'm ready to review it, but you can do it.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that you didn't go back to Tears of the Kingdom, because you said that on this trip, after you beat the game, you were going to dig into all the exploration stuff. But
Yeah, I
think
have.
you were playing.
I have.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought
You don't know
were
what
kinda
I'm doing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Jeez.
You don't know me.
I do know you.
You
Actually,
don't know a single thing about me.
I know everything about you.
We're in a Nintendo account
Even
family and you
things I
don't know
don't
anything
wanna
about
know.
me.
I don't want to know, but I know somehow. I don't want to know. Anyways, I will give this game a review because
Okay.
I have done everything that I think I could.
You've
do
done a
for
lot.
now.
You've done more than me.
I have done quite a lot. I'm gonna give this game a 9 out of 10.
A 9 out
Like-
of 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think this is one
Why
of
so
the-
low?
Oh,
What is the Krysta
What?
scale? Are you a hard grader? I mean,
think
again,
I'm a fair grader.
in you equating everything to an elementary school report card.
This is an A.
That's an A minus.
An A.
A minus.
Okay, it's an A minus. I think that's fair.
Okay.
This is definitely one of the best games I've played in a while. Definitely this year. One of the best games I've played this year. And I think that, and I'm still trying to grapple with this a little bit, like whether or not I like this more than Breath of the Wild. I still don't think I'm quite ready.
That's exactly why I'm not
yet.
reviewing the game, because I need some time and some distance from it, honestly, to decide that. Because I don't know.
I still need a little distance, but I will say that I'm leaning towards, yes, this game is better than Breath of the Wild for me. Which is why I'm comfortable. I mean, I just play this game so much. I played this game so much more than Breath of the Wild, which I was really surprised by, because I thought that I had done my fair, playthrough of Breath of the Wild, but
you did.
I did not do nearly as much as I did in Tears of the Kingdom, and in a more compressed time. Tears of the Kingdom absolutely grabbed my attention, and I will say that the learning curve was much harder with Tears of the Kingdom. It was just hard to learn those abilities, all the ultra hand fuse, all that stuff was really tough to learn. But once you learned it, you felt so great. When towards the end of the game, the seamlessness as I was doing puzzles, solving shrines, even doing big boss fights, of employing all of the things that I can do to my advantage, how I was able to cycle through all of those things so seamlessly, it was amazing. It felt so satisfying. And I do think that Tears of the Kingdom has a very strong story. The story was so good, and so just really beautiful. And I think you and I, we're not going to spoil it for anybody here, but I think you and I both, as we were going through sort of the final battle and the final bits of that main quest, it's you never smash that screenshot button more than you ever in your entire life as you play through that sequence. But yeah, it was just really, a really well done story arc, and just really beautiful. And so yeah, I think this game is going to be up there in the all-time favorites. So
what if I told you that your 9 out of 10 review just dropped the Metacritic score off of your predicted 95 to a 94? So you're now wrong because of by your own doing.
It's 96 right now.
Whatever.
So it would drop back down to 95, which is
dropped down to 94. It was so severe a review by you.
Oh no.
Well, congratulations. You're the last person on the internet to review Tears of the Kingdom. That's great. So you are done with this game. Because I've been done. Koroks?
Yeah.
Koroks? Yes?
No thanks.
No. Yeah. Okay. Any final words then? Beyond that?
I mean, I just think that this game is spectacular. I think that people even the non-completionists, I would highly encourage you to try to complete some of those things. Get all those light.
Are you talking to me right now?
Yes. Do all the shrines. It's I feel like it's more satisfying in this one than in Breath of the Wild to do some of those completionist things. I never got all the shrines in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But I don't know, somehow this game really held my attention with that kind of collection and completionist thing that's actually not really in my gaming nature. Definitely the light routes was something that surprised me, and just the exploration of the depths was really interesting. At first, I remember when I first went down there, I was like, this is the scariest, weirdest thing ever. I'm never going back here again. And who knew, 100 hours later, I would have completed, that entire map and have discovered so many random things down there. It's really cool the way that they've layered, have these 3 layers for this game, and how it's interconnected and stuff. And yeah, I think that part of the game is really well done. And even if you're not a completionist, I would encourage you to thoroughly explore all of the different areas.
Yeah. Yeah, I've still been playing it and doing my little poking around exploration. I don't really have anything noteworthy to share though. Let's say DLC for this game gets announced, and let's say it's out like in the fall. Are you itching to go back to that, or are you like, I need a break?
If there's DLC and it's like significant, I would go back for that.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't feel like jaded from it. Like
right.
I feel highly satisfied. Like I feel like
That's the thing about this game that is so surprising, because I don't think you experience this to the same extent I do, but when I finish a really big game like that, like I really am ready to put it down. And if it's depending on the series, it's like I don't want to think about this series for like a year or two. But with this, it's like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm always ready for more.
exactly. Yeah, I think I don't feel like jaded. Like even towards the end when I was really trying to get the last like two shrines, and they were like actually kind of hard ones to get. They were like connected to like quests and stuff, and I was like, oh man, this is a lot longer than I thought it would be to get this like last shrine or whatever. But even at that point, I wasn't like, like, oh, I can't believe I'm still playing this game kind of thing. I wasn't feeling like jaded by it or annoyed by it. So I think if DLC came out and it was like new content, I absolutely would go back and play it like right away. Like I don't feel like I'm sick of it or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, let's move on to your new obsession, which is Final Fantasy 16, which we
Oh
talked
yeah.
about in depth last week. But you've been playing that. I obviously have no way of playing that now, so I'm actually really eager to hear what you've been doing and what you think. Because so let me just share, like, so my perspective before you go is, I feel like the opinion on this game is flip flopping a lot. So like
It
when the
is.
reviews came out and the game first came out, it was like, oh my gosh, this game is incredible. This is a new direction for Final Fantasy that really works. They've really accomplished something amazing here. I saw a lot of people saying, maybe this is my new favorite Final Fantasy. This is a contender for Game of the Year. It went on and on. Now you're hearing a lot more of the other take of that, which is, gosh, this doesn't even feel like an RPG. Should it really be called Final Fantasy?
Mm-hmm.
Or, well, I played more. The story kind of falls apart at a certain
Yes.
thing, so it doesn't live up to these, all this world building and all this stuff that they've been doing. So again, as somebody who has not played past the demo, I'm like, what? I'm still very excited to play
What
it.
could have
I'm excited.
happened?
I'm excited to find out on my own. And this happens all the time with games, but it's like, what is the actual reality of what most people are feeling right now?
I know. I felt the same thing too, and I'm not that far yet. I mean, I'm probably like, I would say 5 hours, maybe 6 hours at most into the game. Like some significant stuff has absolutely happened. I'm getting a very firm understanding of what is happening in the story. There's been a lot of like sort of main gameplay mechanics and elements that have been unlocked, and now I'm very much like getting used to or getting very familiar with those mechanics. So stuff has happened, but I've been hearing the same thing you have, and I've been getting a little bit worried, honestly. Like so far, I'm really enjoying this game. Like I really love it. And I'm nervous for like, when is that? At what point, how many hours in am I going to feel not excited about this game? So I'm a little worried. I hope that doesn't happen. I did hear um, what you heard, and I was reading some of this too about how the story like totally falls apart. Um, which would be super disappointing because right now the story is quite good. It really is starting to pay off like some of the characters that you saw in the demo in the early part of the game. It's really starting to like pay off some of those storylines right now. You're really like learning more about all the stuff with, what is the dominant, what are these icons, like what are the different factions, the very like Game of Thrones, like, politics around the different ruling nations. Like you're really starting to get a grasp of that. And I stopped right before I went to LA. I stopped at like a major story reveal that I was like, oh, I had a gasp moment, like, oh my gosh, that's what's happening. Okay, oh my gosh, like I can't wait to play more and find out like what's gonna happen next. So I'm still like really in it with the story, and it's still, getting me, deeper pulled into these characters that I'm just getting to know and getting to feel connected to. So I hope they don't fall apart like in the next little bit. I really hope that doesn't happen. The gameplay, I will say, I don't hate it, but it doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy RPG. It doesn't, honestly. Like it's very much, I think, prioritizing sort of this like these beautiful combo, like it's Bayonetta. The gameplay is very like action focused, where it's like combos and you're using the different icon powers to do these crazy things. It rewards you for precision dodging and from cinematic strikes, and like sort of hitting the buttons at the right time. You do have some of your helpers with you, and some of your friends with you, so it does feel like a little bit of like that party battle atmosphere, but you're not really controlling them. They're kind of like doing their own thing. You're not doing anything to control those characters.
So what about like with Torgal, who's, it seems like a permanent companion, right? Can you give Torgal any orders?
You can give Torgal orders. You can also just set Torgal to auto attack for you as well. But you can, and he heals you, and he has a pretty cool attack as well. But even that feels very like action versus it being, RPG, I think. So I'm not saying that it's a bad direction to take the game, but it just feels really different. Like it doesn't feel like the battle system in a Final Fantasy game, which is not, it's not bad or good. It's not like what you're used to, but it's not like a bad battle system either. Like it still feels fun to play it. Although sometimes when you do like those huge sort of cinematic battles, I'm like, am I even doing anything right now? Like it just looks really cool, and it's like this big boss fight, and it's like you just like did 160,000 damage, and then it's like dead. It's like, okay. So at times I'm like, this is just for looks. Like it's just to look pretty, and like cool, versus it being me doing something. So, I mean, I still really love the game. I think it looks absolutely stunning. The music is fantastic. Torgal is best boy. And there's a lot of really cool, story elements, customization stuff. Like the way that you use those icon powers are really interesting. And there's like even like a deeper layer of that later as you get deeper into the game, which I thought I didn't expect. And I was like, oh, this is so cool, that you even can go even deeper with those powers and sort of use it in the way that you battle. But yeah, I don't want this game to fall apart. I really hope that it stays, that I hope that I'll keep enjoying it. But I'm a little nervous because I have read those things as well. Like, oh my gosh, when is it gonna not be fun anymore?
I had a thought creep into my head, and I don't think it was not the result of any of this discussion online, because that stuff, like, people are going to do that no matter what with any game. But I was like, I still do need to play Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Maybe I prioritize that when I get back.
Oh,
because when else am I going to do that?
That game is supposed to be really good, though. So
it is, and
yeah.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I'm like, maybe I should do that. And I think I was holding out for that to come to Game Pass, but it's like, who cares? Like, I just get it and play it. Because at this point, it's like, now that I have a real sense of what the year is, it's like, if I have an opportunity, you got to play this game.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, I will keep playing, and if it falls apart, I will tell you.
Good.
and then you can play Star Wars instead.
Please. Anything else on Final Fantasy?
That's it, but I'm excited to get back to it because I, again, left on this big cliffhanger.
Right.
So now I'm going to keep going and see what happens.
Okay. There's a couple other games we wanted to talk about. One is a game that we played actually at the Summer Game Fest Playdays event that had sort of a different embargo than everything else. So we get to talk about it now, which is Hot Wheels Unleashed 2. which
Exciting stuff.
I think it was actually one of the favorite games that we saw there.
Absolutely.
Maybe a bit unexpected. So I played the first one of these. Did you played it as well? Is that right?
I played it as well, but I don't think I played as much as you because it was really hard for me. I had to like stop
Right.
because I could not go on.
Yeah, so this is one of those games where it's like I don't care about Hot Wheels like one lick at all. But then I just started like seeing people post like stuff about this game. I was like, this looks kind of cool. And it's basically, you know, like an arcade racer where, you know, you pick your Hot Wheels car and there's like hundreds of them. And it's like on these shrunk down race
Little
circuits
mini race
that are in,
tracks,
it's like in somebody's kitchen or in somebody's living room or something.
Yeah, I
And
love that. Like the perspective of it being like tiny
Yeah.
in like a real house or something. Yes.
And it was just like really solidly done, and there were a lot of different cars to get. And I was like, oh, this is like a fun game. So I got it on the Switch, and I really liked it for the most part. But yeah, like you, and I think most people who played it had the same conclusion, was the difficulty in this game is kind of busted, where the normal difficulty was really, really hard.
so hard.
But the easy difficulty was like baby difficulty. So it's like
It's too
impossible
easy.
to not get first place. It's like they need to get this right. And I think they
Yeah.
even did a patch that I tried out later on where they tried to balance it. It still was not entirely perfect. So like when we sat down to play this game, it was one of the lead devs on it. Like we grilled him about that.
Yeah. They were very like transparent that was
Yeah.
something that they heard from a lot of players, and they really try to balance that in this game. And I think we did feel like this game was much more balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of new abilities to kind of help you along, which I think also kind of helped that balance a little bit.
Yeah, they added a lot of stuff in the sequel.
Mhm.
So there's some new like race mechanics that you can do. So you can jump, which is new.
The jumping
And
helps.
and they were showing how that it's like more than a Mario Kart jump. It's a pretty like decent jump. Like
Yeah.
how you can do different shortcuts with that.
Mhm.
Or you can just use it for maneuverability if like you want to get over an obstacle or something. So that's cool. It also has these kind of Burnout-esque. They called it strafing, which I don't think is the best description for it, because I think of strafing as like
Yeah.
a slow. It's basically like you knock into somebody.
Yeah, you're going side to side though, which is I
Right.
think what they mean by strafing, but it's like a boost.
A bump
From
into
right or-
somebody, right? A
Yeah,
powerful
and they're
knock
like
into somebody.
either you can use it to like they want to encourage people to knock their opponents off the track, which is really funny, or you can use it to like help you change directions. Like sometimes you go down the
Yeah.
track and there's like an obstacle coming down the right hand side. You could boost yourself to the left using that mechanic and then like get through it. So it's kind of like multifunctional, which I really like that. But yeah, it definitely helps with the maneuverability as well, I think.
Yeah. Another big new addition is now there are motorcycles in addition to all the cars. And there's like different kinds of cars too. There's like, you know, like a monster truck kind of thing, or like more like, you know, race car types. And now there's motorcycles. And those are kind of like in Mario Kart, like where they're fast, but the cornering is a bit different. And obviously they're very lightweight, so you can get knocked around a lot. So they do have a pretty wide range of different vehicles that you can get. And they were also showing how you can upgrade on a number of different parameters, different cars. So that seems like pretty cool. Like if you find one that you really like, you can make it better.
Yeah, the upgrading system was really robust, and like you can even like if you collect a whole bunch of cars, you can like dismantle them and use their parts to upgrade, which is really interesting. So it was like deep, like the upgrade system was pretty deep. And then the other thing was they had some of like more like open modes, which I really like. They have one that's just like go through these waypoints as fast as possible, so you can get used to the driving. So that was pretty good too. Like they added some other game modes that can help you learn how to drive the cars a bit better. So
They also have this whole other mode that's returning that I didn't get into it all in the first game, but you can actually build your own tracks with the little like Hot Wheel track pieces. And they were talking about how like, yeah, there's ways to share those with other people online, which is great, because I wasn't sure if you could actually do that. So that's like a whole other piece of the game where if you want to become this master track maker, that's something I'll never really get into, but it's cool that that's there. And again, the shrunken down perspective is so cool. Like now one of the courses is like a mini golf course, so it's cool to drive around that.
Yeah.
The game just has a lot of charm, and
Very
there's so
charming.
many cars to get, and it's fun to find one that you like. So I'm pretty high on this game. I'll probably pick this up. I think the version we were playing was on a PC. I don't know yet what version I would get. I'd want to see the performance of the Switch version, but the performance on the last one on Switch was pretty good. So I may
pretty
lean
good,
that
yeah.
way.
You did drive a taco car, which I really liked.
What was the name of that? It was like something.
It was like something Fiesta.
Carnage Asada or something like that.
Maybe. It was
It
something
had a really
like that.
funny
It
name.
was really cute, and it was a taco.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So the last game we want to talk about is what I've been playing here, and I actually finished this last night, which is Dordogne. Dordogne or Dordogne?
Dordogne. Is that how you pronounce it? Okay, I don't know.
So first of all, what is Dordogne? Why is that the name? So I looked it up, and they sort of talk about this in the game. It's a region. It's actually a name of a river in France, and it's in the southwest area of France, which I think is in the I think it's the Bordeaux area.
I like the wine in the Bordeaux area.
So this was a game that really stood out to us when they showed it. I think it was in an indie showcase because the visuals in this game are
watercolor, beautiful.
I truly do not believe that there will be a better looking game this year. Like I have this like as a semi lock already when we do game of the year of like best looking game. Like is this because it's all this like watercolor style and there's so much of it. Like, I don't know how they did this because it seems like everything was done by hand and then put into the game. Like, I don't know if they have any information out there of like how they did this, but it just looks like, a living watercolor piece of artwork, but it's all so well done and has so much atmosphere and personality. And that even goes down to like the characters. Like there are some scenes where it's like very close up on the characters and like the faces and the movements are like really well done. So it's just stunning to look at. Have you been playing this game at all? I know you said you got it.
I got it, but I haven't started it yet because I've been playing some other stuff. But it is definitely one that I will be playing because I was really interested in this game as well. But
yeah, you should squeeze this in.
Yeah, this is like a cozy game though, right? There's like a cute little story.
So the story is about how it's mostly about this relationship between this girl and her grandmother, and it's told in flashbacks. So there's like current day where actually her grandmother has just passed away, and
I don't know if I can play this game.
And she's returning to her house. And as you go through her things, you get flashbacks to this summer where you lived with her. You spent this great summer with her, and all these things happen. But the story is really great. There's a lot of it's not exactly what you would expect, and I would say in a good way. There's some really interesting things that happen, but that's a very interesting storytelling approach. Where you're seeing things that sort of jog memories that you had, and then you go back, and that's where you're doing most of the playing is as your young self. The game also does this thing that I always like, and it seems very hard to do from a game development perspective, where it's like, you're going to do this thing once in the game, and we created all these custom mechanics for it, and you never do it again. So there's one scene where you're like making a cup of tea, and it's very like it's almost like Cooking Mama-esque, where it's like, all right, now I'm cutting a lemon and I'm putting that in, and now I'm putting the water in the kettle, and I'm turning, and it's all like do the motions. It's not a motion game, but you're like turning sticks and doing everything like you're making a cup of tea. It's really fun, and it's like you never do that again in the game. So there's a lot of examples of that where you're like doing sort of these very like funly laid out everyday things. But yeah, it's very much like a great. I think it's a great summer game because it's about the summer that the two spent together. Very heartwarming story, and again, the visuals are super super good. So I really liked it.
Is it sad? Is it going to make me cry? I already feel like crying a little bit now.
I wouldn't call it like a tear jerky.
But game. You have a heart of stone.
Well, maybe don't take my word for it. Maybe other people can chime in on that.
I really love my grandmother, and I
Well,
used to
who
spend summers with
doesn't?
her. But I
Yeah.
haven't seen her for a while, and I'm getting a little bit nervous. So, is it gonna make me cry in this emotional state that I'm in? I have no
I
idea.
don't know. I can't speak for you. I liked it though.
Now you're trying to backpedal on
The
this.
game's also about 4 to 5 hours, so it's not like super long. It doesn't like overstay its welcome at all. I was like, oh yeah,
Okay.
this is like a perfect. I played it over a couple days kind of game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I don't know what I'm going to play. I think I might go back to Deliver Us the Moon because I hadn't picked that
Oh,
up since my plane ride. I think that could be a good next game.
yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of like sales going on right now, so I'll probably poke around and see if there's something else I want to pick up
Yes.
and start. Yeah.
I was going to play Dordogne or whatever it's called, but I don't know how to pronounce that.
Wow.
But I started playing Fire Emblem Radiant Blade,
Oh, yeah.
the GBA version of it, on the plane down to LA and on the way back. That game is so good. You should play it. It
Maybe
totally
I'll do
holds
that.
up. I can't believe like how just modern. I mean, I guess it's very much a Fire Emblem game. The one thing I really appreciate about this game, and I was really interested in this game particularly because I really liked Lynn when I played the last Fire Emblem game. I like learned so much about Lynn, and she was one of the characters that I used the most. And I was like, oh, cool! I can finally like kind of see her origin story in this game. And the thing I really like about this is the simplicity of it. Like I feel like as much as I love, sort of modern Fire Emblem games, obviously you guys know I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan. I love the relationships and the crazy stories and stuff like that, but sometimes it gets a little bit like too crazy, especially in this last Fire Emblem game. I feel like some of the stories I'm like I didn't need to see this, like who cares? Um so it was really nice that this one just has like a very simple story and it's very focused on very like simple aspects of like you are an unwanted heir to a throne. There's like a power struggle kind of thing. There's nothing mystical or fantastical happening. It's just very much like a simple fantasy storyline or medieval storyline. And then yeah, it's really focused on the gameplay, which totally holds up. I couldn't believe it. It's really good.
Yeah, I should
You should
check
play
that
it.
out. Oh, one last thing on Dordogne before we wrap up on what we're playing. So the game has a lot of spoken dialogue, and by default, it's in English. The game has French audio, which is what I did, and I think people should do that because it really
Oh
does
my gosh, yes.
enhance the atmosphere because it's a game that's set in France. So to hear the characters
Oh.
speaking in French, the game doesn't like give you a nudge to do this. I just like poking around in the options. I was like, oh yeah, this is a thing I should
Oh.
do, and it
I
really added
definitely
to the
would have played in
atmosphere.
French.
Yeah,
Can actually help me pick up, like, relearn some of my high school French.
yeah, totally.
I think I can learn some good vocabulary
Good on this game that you won't play now.
on the game that I
Well,
might cry
those
through.
yes, well those are the games that we are playing. Let's move on to the news. So this is where we're talking about this Nintendo Direct, and again to reiterate. We were in kind of a shaky place with Nintendo Switch before this Direct. Pikmin 4 was the only real game, not DLC, that we had on the books. Nintendo had just announced Everybody Want to Switch, which by all accounts is a disaster of a game. And then out of the blue comes this Nintendo Direct. And even that announcement, I think you and I were a bit surprised at to some degree, right?
Yeah, I think it was really hard to read what Nintendo's next moves were going to be because we are still, even after this Nintendo Direct, we are still in this sort of late stage life cycle for Switch. There is a lot of, you know, things that can happen in this transitional period. And so it's been a little bit hard to kind of see what Nintendo's going to do next. So it was, this direct when that was announced or when that was being rumored, I think a lot of us were skeptical about what's going to be in it, whether it was going to be a full Nintendo Direct, whether it was going to be more of a partner showcase or something else. So even that was, I think there was just a lot of questions around it because we just didn't have any information for so long about what is happening in the back half of this year for Nintendo.
That was why my non-prediction was like I could believe anything could happen, because at Nintendo we had been in that position before where we had basically a blank slate of the next 6 to 9 months, and we always would fill it in. But the fact that we are this late in the Switch life cycle gave me pause. I was like, well, it could just be that they're starting, as these things happen, as you get late into a console cycle, you just have less because you're starting to work on the other thing.
Yeah.
So I did think that was a distinct possibility of like, yeah, the things are going to start to slow down, and there will still be stuff, but it'll feel a bit more fillery. Obviously, the complete opposite happened, and this was one of the more jam-packed directs that we've had in a long time.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was probably one of the best directs that I can remember for a while. Jam packed with like a lot of really sort of heavy hitting stuff. The other thing that I have been thinking about for a long time, we've been talking about this for a long time as well, is how it's possible that we're in this really wonderful new place with Mario, having that great successful movie, billions of dollars, people have seen it, having this theme park that launched this year, like how it could be possible that there is no Mario something on the calendar. Like I just couldn't believe that. So as soon as I saw Koizumi-san, in that first moment of that direct, you just knew. Like you see that man, you know that it's going to be big Mario stuff incoming. So then immediately I was like, okay, this is going to be like pretty much an all Mario direct. And this is where they're putting all that Mario news that we've been waiting for a long time to hear about. So yeah, it was like really nice and sort of a sigh of relief to finally see that, because it's like, yeah, you have to capitalize on the fervor that is Mario this year. If you didn't, that would be a dumb move. So glad to see that we have some Mario coming our way.
Yeah, you would think that, but you never know with Nintendo. Like they could be like, well, the movie's a different thing from the games, or we're going to keep those separate. It's good that they finally do have something, and props to you, because that was something that you had been talking about for quite some time now. It was fortuitous. I think it was either last episode or the episode before that we got a Q&A where we talked about Nintendo's shift from developing for two systems down to one, and
Yeah,
how they really unlocked the full potential of their dev team powers by doing that. And
resources. Yeah.
that's what I went back to with this direct, where it's like, no, they have this so figured out that they
Yeah.
can juggle the end of the Switch life and the start of whatever the next system is,
Mm-hmm.
and have no. I'm sure that the Switch 2 or whatever it ends up being will have an absolutely stacked launch year. But it is really unusual
100%.
to see the tail end of the old system having this much stuff. And I mean, they were even talking about with the Peach game and Luigi's Mansion into next
Mm-hmm.
year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is uncharted waters for Nintendo, and honestly for a lot of consoles, for it to be this robust. So that was very eye opening for me, and just reaffirmed like, okay, we are truly in this place where they have all these plates spinning. They can have all of this figured out, all this going on, because they do have just this great combination of like original games, DLC, remakes, and just other stuff that they can have all three of those things hitting on all cylinders at all times.
Yeah, I think that what they have to their advantage 100% is this deep library of stuff that they can remaster. That is something that is such a great resource for them. And I don't know if this is true or not true, but presumably, I would think remastering one of these games is going to take less resources. So you do have the ability to make it feel like new things are coming. There's so many of these beloved, franchises and games on systems that people just want to see again. I think Luigi's Mansion is a great example of that. Even though it is a port, I think no one is complaining about Luigi's Mansion coming to Switch. So the sort of the ability for them to capitalize on people's just excitement for these older ports coming to Switch, and then using that as a way to help them with their resources is really incredible. And a lot of companies don't have that advantage. So you can see them that they're using that to their, using that fully to help them in this transition, which is amazing. It's awesome to see that.
Yeah, I'm so on board with just the remake trend in general. It feels like that really started with like Sony with the PS4 really started to get into that a lot, even with games like that were not necessarily that old. And I'm just so happy that Nintendo is taking that approach now too, because it's like, well, they have a retro service that presumably you could put all these old games on. They're not doing that. I'll take one or the other. Put them on there or remake it. I'll pay more money. I just want to play the game in an actual modern, viable way. I'm good with whatever system. It is.
Yes. Exactly. I think everybody has that same mentality. So I think people are very accepting of that fact now, which is a really cool environment, I guess, to be in for these companies, because they're like, yeah, we could capitalize on that for sure.
Yeah, and in the case of Mario RPG, which was one of my biggest takeaways from this Direct, it's like I had actually been itching to play that game. It's not on NSO. I have the Retron system. That's one of the handful of games, and I still have the cartridge that doesn't play on that. So I was like, ugh, it's such a headache to try and be able to play this game in 2023, and that's great. It's also just like such an easy business case to make, where it's like, yeah, we have the richest back catalog of any company in gaming. Like if we just said like, all right, our top 10% of games, however you want to define the top 10% in popularity, sales, whatever. Like, yeah, we're just going to focus on remaking those. It's like, do that forever. Remake the game on every system. I just want to have it available. And if it can look great and if it can play, as good as it did, I mean, don't tinker with it too much, but I think this is a really smart approach, and hopefully they stick with it. And it seems like, it's all working out great financially for them. It'll never replace entirely a new game, but I think it can get you like 85% of the way there, depending on how long it's been since people first played it. Like you never played Mario RPG. You're going to love this game.
I know, exactly. And I was thinking, like, especially for Nintendo's audience, like they have captured so many new players. It's not just you and I who grew up playing Nintendo games back on the NES or the SNES. Like some people's first Nintendo console might have been the Switch. So for sure, there are tons of these remakes, games from Nintendo's history that are absolute classics, bangers that a lot of people have never ever played or heard of before. So to them, it's just going to be like a brand new game. So if you think about it that way, like that is such like a smart business decision for them. If they're focusing on like sharing their history with their new audience, like why not do this with all of their classic, best of the best games, So I want to see more. I want to see it.
Yeah, and there is a group within Nintendo development that's focused on working with external developers for first-party games. So that's where like a Mr. Tanabe falls under, who works, with different studios. That's where like a Mr. Yamagami works on, Fire Emblem games and so on. Like that's really such a key group now, because not these games, even though they say Nintendo on the box, like there are so many support teams or external teams that are actually making these games. I'm never surprised when a fully internal first-party game is that high quality. But it is a bit of a trick to have these external teams that know like the Nintendo standard and the Nintendo way. Mm-hmm. And each of those have, a Nintendo producer or a handful of people who are overseeing that like those are the super, super valuable people for the company going forward, because that's kind of how this is all happening.
Yeah, yeah. We were talking about before as a comparison, Microsoft, they have onboarded so many new studios, but have had a hard time with getting the level of quality there and getting them used to like what does it mean to be a first party Microsoft studio and making a first party Microsoft game. Like Nintendo's got that figured out because they do have their top producers that have grown up within the Nintendo development team that have basically like ingrained themselves into these studios to manage them, to make sure that they follow that process to a T. And that's how you get these high quality games. There's no easy way. It's literally somebody doing the work daily, like micromanaging all of these people. And yeah, it's pretty incredible.
That's a great point, because I think the Nintendo way is probably the most ethereal and hardest to really nail as a developer if you haven't lived that for decades, like a lot of these devs are. Like the Microsoft way. I don't know what the Microsoft way is, honestly. Like they talk about that, and Phil was talking about that in those interviews. Like, I'll be honest though, I don't know what that means. Like the Nintendo way, we know what that is, and it's a super hard bar to get to. So I'm just stunned at how well they have made this transition, how well it's working out for them. So again, like I'm glad to admit that, yeah, I think I was wrong with that initial statement with everybody 1-2 switch. It's like, yeah, this is an indicator that things are going to be going downward. We're going back up, baby. We're back. We're so back.
Baby, we're back.
We're back on.
I will say that one thing I did notice in the direct, and it's not a point of negativity at all. I'm just saying this is something that I noticed, is there is more like of the quote expanded audience games in this latest direct that I noticed. Definitely Mario is going to be Mario RPG. No, because that one is more of a core title, I think. But like, even the new Mario game, Super Mario Wonder, I think is very like for everyone, for all audiences. Grandma can play it, and little Timmy can play it, and mom can play. Like it's one of those sort of expanded audience games, even though it's like a mainline AAA Nintendo game. But I did notice, they of course had the Just Dance, they had that rhythm like pigeon game, that was very like kind of party game-esque. They had a couple other games in there that I noticed definitely had almost like that Wii feeling to it, where it's like anybody can pick up a Switch Joy-Con and play this game. WarioWare, yeah, where you're motion based. Exactly. So I did notice that. I wondered if, at the sort of the end of this life cycle, it's really about like, let's just try to get, as much of an expanded audience as possible before we transition to that next console. So it's pretty interesting to see that lineup look, what it looks like.
So the one game that was not here that I thought would be there is Metroid Prime. What is going on with this game? Metroid Prime 4, to be specific.
Well, you know me. I have been harping on my prediction of this is not showing up until the new console is announced. You think it's coming this holiday still? Do you still think it's coming this holiday?
No, I don't think that now at all. No, okay. I think this was the chance.
So you think that I'm right is what it is.
I think this was the chance to do it. I could see them doing like a dual SKU thing where it's like, oh, it's available on both. Because I think again, like they do want to get the most out of that on the Switch audience. Clearly they've been working on it for a long time. I think that's an approach they could take. And if you do that, you could still talk about it before the new system is announced. You could do it either way. You could do it either way, because you would want to show it with the best possible graphics. So
I think the new system is going to get announced, and this is going to be the marquee game for it.
Not Mario Kart 9?
Maybe Mario Kart. I mean, we know that as we said before, that launch calendar is going to be pretty stacked. Yeah. So I think it's going to be one of the marquee games.
I think they will have a lot of marquee games. I don't think this is the game. I don't think Metroid Prime carries a new console launch in the way that Nintendo wants or needs it to. But I think I could see it being like, yeah, this is in that first year. This is one of the heavy hitters that we have. And it's also on Switch if you want to get that version.
Kind of like what they did with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a day one game with a new system, but
I think it might be a day one game with the new system.
All right. So
I feel like I am getting very hopeful as I watch this direct, and I think about the lineup for early next year and how strong, as we're saying, the Switch is still going very strong. They're doing everything they can to keep the interest as high as it possibly can for this. I am getting a good feeling, I will say, that the next system is just going to be like the Switch but more powerful.
Yeah.
I'm getting less fearful that it's going to be like some zag, some like crazy, instead
Gimmick.
of doing the thing that's been working so well, we're going to do some gimmicky thing that's, zany. So that makes me feel a lot better. And if that is the case, if we're just getting like HD Switch or whatever, Switch Pro or whatever we're calling it, I feel like it's easier for these things to coexist and to transition. And I think what you've been saying a lot about, like, maybe there's going to be some sort of deluxe version of some of these games coming to the new hardware. That's an easier transition for them to make. So I'm feeling like pretty good about that future. And that makes me happy. Like I'm glad. I don't want to live in fear that we're going to have like some weird transition to something that we don't want.
Yeah,
So
I
this is good.
thought
This is a good thing.
The company has got hung up on some transitions, like Wii to Wii U. Like the transition to HD was tricky, and the development environment we've heard for Wii U was really hard just to make games.
Yeah.
We've heard that on Switch it's very easy, like almost shockingly easy in comparison. So you think about like, well, what would that transition look like if you're a developer? Presumably it should be pretty easy because, you can output these games at whatever. It's just a higher resolution of the game that you're already making, unless you really want to go all out on the graphics. So that's great. There's not some new gimmick or trick that you need to learn how to do. If it's just like, yeah, we've been making Switch games for almost a decade now. We're good with that.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
the Joy-Con function generally the same, and the sort of the key thing is still, handheld TV mode, like that stuff. I think people would know how to do that, like with their eyes closed. They're good.
Yeah. So I think I've always thought that made so much sense because this generation has been going so well. Don't rock the boat. You can get at least one more generation out of this. You have no competitor still with this form factor. That would be the thing where I would think like, oh, we got to get out of this. People are jumping on this. This is becoming too crowded. It still hasn't happened. I can't believe it.
Yeah. I mean, there's some, obviously there's some little like biting at the toes with, like the PlayStation kind of handheld cloud play thing, remote play, whatever it's called. It's not really a apples to apple comparison or a competitor, I would say, to Switch, but you can see them trying to kind of edge in a little bit on like the play on the go messaging, which is fine. I don't think that's going to cause Nintendo to be like, oh no, we need to do something completely different because of remote play. Like that's not going to be a big enough competitor for them. So yeah, exactly. I don't think there is a clear competitor. Obviously they have and they always will have the power of first party software to boost them along. And as long as I think they feel like they sort of have like a niche there, like I don't see some crazy like zany next console, which again, I think we all want that. So that's a good thing. And the indications from this last direct are sort of that is the trajectory that I see. So I think that's all looking really, really positive.
So what do you think in terms of timing as with this transition to get started?
Yeah. So let's see. The announcements from the last directs carried us over to sort of the first 3 months, first quarter, I guess, of
I think they just said like next. They were very vague. It
next
was like
year.
next
Yeah,
year, but presumably
next year.
early
I would
early
say
next year.
early next year, like within the first,
Yeah.
3 months of next year, before the fiscal, as we say, is probably likely. Yeah, I don't think they're announcing anything until like the March at the earliest of next year
Yeah,
is my prediction.
clearly the message. So the original Switch was announced in October,
Right.
um, which was right in the middle of the holiday season. They could do that because the Wii U was doing jack squat. So it's like, oh no, we stepped on our non-existent holiday sales. Big deal. Clearly, with this lineup, they want to let that run its
No,
course. So yeah, we get no
they're gonna run it.
announcements.
Yeah.
We get no announcements this year, but I do think, and maybe even pretty early in Q1, they could start talking about it. And there were some rumblings of like, oh, they might try and again make it a very tight turnaround from announcement to it coming out. I could see it coming out in the summer. Again, I think there's a lot of a benefit to have it coming out not in the holidays to sort of work out the kinks, get your stock
Yeah.
situation better, so
That
that
was
you
a
can.
good learning for Switch.
That was great because nobody had really tried it before. Of like people were always so nervous, like, oh, we have to put it out in the holidays. It's going to be a big seller. Well, it's going to sell out no matter what. You could put it out whenever, and what you have day one is going to sell out, and people are going to want it. That happened to the Wii U; it sold out. So put it out, spring, summer, late summer, whenever. Do that. Build up enough stock for the holidays so that you can really, again, maximize that opportunity and have some big game for the holidays, and you'd be in great shape. That's sort of how I see it broadly happening.
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the question. So they usually do a sort of January, February direct, beginning of the year after the holidays, after that whole thing has run its course. Potentially that could be like the first early announcement for it or something like that. And then, you would do something bigger a bit later in that early part of the year, March, April-ish, I don't know. And then you could presumably have it out in like the summer time frame.
The thing that I'm surprised at is there have yet to be any leaks on this. And usually, once those dev kits start to get out, which you need to do for people to make games, usually there's like a Ubisoft or something where a picture of something gets out or some detail starts to get out.
Where's the trademark documents? Where are those?
We've seen them with previous systems put out just like a one-word press release of like, oh yes, we have, just so they could get ahead of something like that.
Yeah.
If they get a feeling that something like that is going to come out, they might do something like that, like a very abrupt, just like, yes, confirming that we are doing this and this is the code name, like the NX or something like that.
Yeah. NZ.
But,
just kidding.
Right. So that is the one variable that could shift things around, I feel.
That's the other reason why I think that this is not going to be that different from Switch, is that maybe they're even telling like, developers, like, don't worry. You'll know how to develop on the system. It's just up-res it.
Well, at some point they got to get it.
I know, but I kind of feel like they're like, maybe they're biding their time a little bit because they're able to tell people like, hey, this is pretty much what you've been doing, just like 1080, like 4K.
Well, better be more than 1080, jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. 4K.
All right.
My eyes can't see that anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of feel like that's sort of what we're looking at right now in terms of timeline. Yeah, and I don't think we hear peep about this Metroid 4 until then.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as how I'm feeling about it, like I'm again, like, I'm really happy with this lineup. I'm glad to be playing those games. There'll be no shortage of games. Yes. And if the form factor is what we think, like, it'll be nice. It'll be a good upgrade, but I won't be like counting down the days or just like oh gosh, another day stuck with this deadbeat Switch. What am I gonna do? Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna love it till the bitter end.
I like my OLED. It works great. It really does. It like I have no issue at all with this thing. Like I'm very happy with it. As long as there's games for it, I'm happy with it. You know, like I'm good. So, but that's
Yeah,
just me.
especially when you think about some of the landmines, and I think we'll do an episode where we talk about this more in depth, like the console transition landmines that
Mm.
are out there.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, it's nice to not have to worry about that stuff for a little while
yeah.
longer.
That's why it makes me like it gives me like some relief to think like
Yeah.
okay, I think it's gonna be okay. Like all the
Right,
signs
right.
point to it being very not like a crazy leap forward, more so
Right,
just
right,
like
right.
a better of the same. Which you know what, honestly, like that's more than you can hope for.
Yeah. How about we move on? Yeah?
Yes, let's.
All right.
Let's.
Next story is something that came out of an interview with the Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot, talking about the latest Mario and Rabbids game, which did not do well. He talked about how one of the reasons they felt this game did not do well is because they already had a Mario and Rabbids game out, and they had gotten some sort of indicators from Nintendo where it's like, yeah, like if you're doing like a franchise thing, like you can probably just keep it to one per platform. And if you have another game, save it for the next one, because obviously Nintendo has seen that these games can be popular for long periods of time. And you don't have to upset that or clog the market with more games in the same series. I thought this was so interesting because this was never explicitly stated in our time at Nintendo, but it did start to become a pattern that we saw, where it's like
Yeah.
one and done with these big games, and the exceptions to that rule did start to become a little strange when they happened.
Yeah, exactly. It is interesting to kind of hear someone else kind of overtly talk about this, I guess. Yeah, I wonder if that's true or not, because there have been instances where there have been multiple big games on on one console generation that have performed fine. So I think I don't know if that is like the only reason why this game underperformed. It could be one of the reasons, but I don't know. I feel like there's been exceptions to this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that is the reason either. I think there may have been other bigger reasons. But yeah, like we got one Smash, we got one Mario Kart, we got two Zeldas. We have one big 3D Mario. Now we'll have one big 2D Mario. We got multiple Mario parties. So yeah, it's not written in stone, but more so than on other platforms, that did feel like the way things were headed. So it's just interesting to see Ubisoft kind of indicate like, yeah, Nintendo gave us this advice as their definitive thinking on the situation. So that's why it stood out to me.
Yeah.
All right. Our next and last story is one that just keeps going on. So this Microsoft FTC case is happening now.
Boy.
It's ongoing. So
Yes.
we're sort of talking about what's happened. It's continuing this week. So there's more that's going to come out. Like some of these reporters are like at the courthouse.
Yes.
Listening in on this.
Yeah. People have taken a stand. Whew. It's like a real legal thing.
But every day there's some big new bombshell that comes out. And it's interesting, like all the people that are there. So it's like Phil Spencer's there, people from Bethesda are there.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan's there, people from Nintendo who we know. Steve Singer, who is the head
Steve Singer is there.
Who's the head of third party. He's going to be there. Maybe his testimony will come out this week.
On the stand.
But let's just go through some of these things. So the one that kind of got talked about and honestly joked about the most is like Microsoft admitting that it lost the console wars and even using that name, the console wars, in their thing,
Yeah.
which was a little bit ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, the way you do these cases is obviously you want to plead whatever case you have. So they're not going to come out and say, as they're being,
like, we're the
on
winners.
trial, like, oh yeah, we're doing great, things are going perfect. Like, yeah, they kind of put themselves in this corner of like, oh, woe is us, we had to do this to compete, so and so.
Right.
So I don't really take this as them. Like, I don't think they truly internally feel this way. They are making a case.
Yeah. But it's not the most fun case to make. Like,
it's not flattering for yourself. Yeah.
Admitting that you're a loser.
Right.
to win a case against the FTC, like, even though you know it's for like the greater good of you getting what you want ultimately, it's sort of like twisting the knife a little bit, So yeah, I don't love that for them. It probably doesn't feel good if you're Phil Spencer and you have to sit there and basically admit to losing the console wars. Like, ouch. It's not great.
Yeah, I mean, this has truly become like the deal with the devil, where it's like, oh, you want to buy this? Well, you're going to have to do all these awful, awful things for the next like 3 years to get it to happen.
And now you're so deep in it, you have to keep going, right?
Right. Either way, it's costing you billions of dollars, so you might as well see it through.
Oh, man.
The other thing, so they were talking about how Microsoft was worried that Starfield would become a PlayStation 5 exclusive, and there was actually some reporting on that was coming out. I was seeing some people reporting on that saying like, oh, this is why they bought Bethesda. That seems a bit extreme, of a stretch to me. But definitely. There are quotes from Phil saying, our place with the partners was not necessarily where we wanted it to be. Sony was making some really strong deals. So I think that just became, as they went on this acquisition bent, their solution in a lot of ways to this problem. So like, it's also come out, like there were all these other companies like Sega, Bungie, Niantic, Zynga. These are all companies that got floated. Clearly they had like a shopping list of like, well, how many of these can we get? Let's find out. Obviously the Bethesda one worked out, and I guess that's one way around this problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a problem or a solution or a problem in the making. We don't know. It's risky. A solution business,
that creates more problems, maybe.
Yeah, it's just risky because now, again, even with Bethesda and with Starfield, now you're just banking on this one thing unknown to work. That's pressure that I wouldn't want, but hey.
Yeah. In the Bethesda portion of the case, they were talking about how with Elder Scrolls 6, it's probably at least 5 years away from being released. They have not decided or really been thinking about any of the platforms, and it may not even come out on this hardware generation, which makes you wonder why they felt the need to announce it all those years ago at all then.
It's like Tears of the Kingdom. It's literally Tears of the Kingdom.
It might even be longer than that when it's all said and done. I mean, I think they said they talked about that 5 or 6 years ago. So add 5 more years onto that.
10 years?
But that is consistent with what the Microsoft people were saying of like, yeah, these cycles now can be up to 10 years. So
it just feels so exhausting to think about it in a 10-year cycle.
Yeah, that really drills home. Like, yeah, this AAA, the direction of AAA development is not very healthy at the moment.
Indie games are the only ones keeping this industry going.
Save us,
honestly.
Indie games.
Save us. Dawn, save us.
And then the last thing from the last week was from the Sony side, and they were sort of laying out like what would happen if the deal went through, and they were saying like, yeah, we really couldn't share for the PlayStation, in the future with the PlayStation 6, we wouldn't feel comfortable sharing those dev kits with Activision because that is our internal secret that
proprietary
we would now be sharing with our direct closest competitor. It actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does that's really interesting though. But yeah, it becomes a trade secret. Like your details are now proprietary to you. So you have to make a trade-off there. You better have some good first-party stuff.
Yeah, and some people were talking about how there's no native version of Minecraft on PS5, which, I mean, obviously at this point the PS5's been out for a while, but it's kind of a similar situation where it's like, yeah, why would I give this precious secret out to my direct competitor? So that's a pretty sobering and realistic just consequence of this.
Yeah. So you just know from now on you won't see that on a PlayStation console. So
Or not, right away, because I mean, eventually they can have it because eventually the hardware will be out. But yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, this is the gift that keeps on giving for people like us. We'll probably have a lot more to talk about this in next week's podcast, because I think
fascinating.
I think this week is the last week, and they need to reach some sort of a decision pretty soon, or else there's a lot of pre-work on this deal that needs to get redone. So we are in the down to the wire mode on this.
This is the make or break moment, isn't it?
It really is.
What happens to Microsoft if this doesn't go through? What happens?
Well, they still have to pay some billions of dollars as part of the deal with Activision. But yeah, it won't be good. I think it'll still go through.
I think so too. I think so too. Yeah. But it is so true that with everything in life, there is a trade-off, and it's never going to be all good or all bad. You just have to decide what's worth your trade-off. And that's what it is.
Yeah. It's the trial of the century.
Trial of the century. This is the Pelican Brief of our generation, people. Whoa.
Move over, OJ. Oh, that was last century.
Wait a second.
Let's get into our Q&A. Each and every question comes from our Patreon community, and we'll also do a special bonus Q&A every week that is exclusive to Patreon. First question this week is from Riven. The Princess Peach game announced in today's Direct looks like it could be really amazing or really awful, but I really hope it's great. What would you like to see in a game starring Princess Peach? What are your greatest, most ambitious hopes? What would you hate to see? What are your worst, most concerning fears? This could be a great opportunity for me to mansplain and tell you exactly what it should be, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to get out of the way and let you cook.
You resist the urge to mansplain.
So hard.
So hard. I know, it's so hard. Yeah, I had the same exact thought that Riven had when I saw this in the Direct. I was like, oh, that was my reaction. It was like, it could be great. It could be bad, but it has potential. And I think that this is where I really hope, and we did hear Mr. Miyamoto talk a little bit about this when he was doing interviews for the Mario movie, is that like, they are rethinking Princess Peach's character based on the Mario movie. Now, what I think would be really great, and something that we've talked about a lot, is like, we just want to get to know Princess Peach more, like we got to get a little glimpse of her backstory in the Mario movie. Wouldn't it be great if we had a game where she like explored her backstory? Like, how did she become, Princess Toadstool? Like, how does she end up as a baby in this kingdom? And then maybe even like we can see more of her character, her personality. Any of that, I think, would make a great Princess Peach game. Obviously, the gameplay part of it, we hope, is also really fun. I think they kind of hinted at this, is where she can maybe change costumes, and maybe those costumes maybe do a thing with the gameplay. Like in the little teaser trailer they showed, she like stepped on what looked like an amiibo pedestal and then changed her outfit. So hopefully there's like some sort of, costume based power up gameplay, something. I tweeted about this, but I would love to see her in that Toad outfit as one of her costumes. That would be great. Let's get her out of the ball gown for once. Maybe give her some pants. That would be nice. But yeah, I think if we can just understand Princess Peach a little bit more and her backstory, I think that would be great.
It did look like a bit of a more slow-paced game. Like, it didn't look like a real like action-y platformer or anything like that. Like, honestly, the vibe that I got from this very short clip they showed was Bayonetta Origins, which could be an interesting approach.
Yeah.
I only played the demo for that, but it did feel like like a real combination of like action and adventure.
Yes, and that was also a story where you're learning about Bayonetta's backstory. So what a great way to show us Princess Peach's backstory, because I would love to learn about that.
Next story is a combo, or next question is a combo from Ninja 11 and Tuskoob. Start with Ninja 11. Is there any drama when Nintendo drops a game on Switch the same day as a third party of a similar genre? Sparks of Hope released a day before the Switch port of Persona 5 Royal, and it was just announced that the Mario RPG will be released the same day as Persona 5 Tactics. I'm not sure how much the target demographics overlap. They overlap for me, but I feel like if I was Atlas, I'd be a bit annoyed. However, I feel like they can't bite the hand that feeds because Smash really put a spotlight on the Persona series, yet I feel like someone might be annoyed. And Tuskoob adds, adding on to that with the fact that Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Bros. Wonder are coming out on the same day, I'd be curious to hear thoughts about that pair in particular.
That is a pretty crazy pair.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, unfortunately, Nintendo does not care about when other people are releasing games. Sometimes they don't even care when they have their own game releasing on the same day. There is the iconic dual release of what was it? Mario
3D World and A Link Between Worlds.
Link Between Worlds.
Yes.
Can you believe that, you guys?
Oops.
They did not care that two hot properties, Mario and Zelda, were releasing on the same day. So that's how they feel about release dates.
Release dates continue to be not an exact science for anybody. It's a lot of just like, you pick the date way in advance and like under no circumstances will we change it. I feel like people could be a lot more savvy with this stuff of getting ahead of competitors, getting away from big competitors. But it's just like a lot of like, no, this is the line in the sand and we're sticking to it no matter what.
Yeah, I don't know why it's such a written in stone kind of thing, because it's fine if you want to make it a different day.
Because I think there are a lot of cases where like your game would sell better if you had a different date.
Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo also like doesn't know. I don't think they know third-party release dates until they get announced. Like,
right.
That's kind of a church and state kind of thing where they do need to have that, respect for the third party.
There's no like ministry of release dates that everybody puts in their release dates and someone is like, don't Nintendo just be aware that Spider-Man
Nintendo's not giving anybody advice. They're not giving Atlas
and no one
advice.
else is giving Nintendo advice either. So.
Yeah, they can't help themselves either. It's just a big mess. But yeah, when I had the realization about Spider-Man and Mario, I was like,
oh no.
The deep just pain I felt.
The deep sigh, deep soul-crushing sigh.
It just stinks.
There was one time we convinced Nintendo to move a release date was when they were going to release Star Fox on 9/11.
Oh my gosh.
That was dire. We went to bat for that one.
Big yikes.
Even so, it was a fight.
Paul Gale Network's next. Hey, Kit and Krysta, what other animals do you hope Mario and company turn into in Super Mario Bros. Wonder? Also note how Mario did not wear an elephant suit. He became one. Thanks, and what a fun-looking game.
That was one thing that I noticed, too. It's not like the Tanuki suit or whatever. He just turned into an elephant and looked ridiculous. What other animal? I don't know. God.
I will continue to put out that a shark could be a great option. I mean, those water levels are never as fun as the on-land levels. That could give you mobility. Like the frog suit in Mario 3 is great because you just get around.
Frog suit.
You've got biting, so you have a cool mechanic already built in. There you go. Easy answer.
Oh,
Shark Mario. Let's do it.
Some sort of flying would be cool. Like an eagle, condor, vulture. Vulture is too scary and weird.
No, that's...
but... Yeah, that's too gross. But like something eagle, that's very noble.
Okay.
Because then, to your point about mobility, maybe there's like a air level or some sort of level where you're up in the clouds. Having him be able to fly would be super, super cool. I would love to do that.
The elephant does look weird, and the freeze frames of Mario becoming the elephant are horrific, but.
It's an abomination.
The elephant does, again, if you talk about just from gameplay, you got the trunk that can swing. that it can shoot water. It's
Yep.
big and heavy.
It's
They
big
can do
and
some
heavy.
sort of smashing.
Yep.
So
yep. You can do it like some sort of enhanced like butt stomp. Like
exactly.
Elephant butt.
I'm holding out on the elephant.
The elephant butt.
Yes. That's what we need. Silvergrass Moon is next. Hi, Kit and Krysta. When you were at Nintendo, what was your favorite media outlet to work with, and how did they earn that distinction? Thanks, and hope you're having a great summer.
Let's see.
Or were they all bad?
I always liked what? I've always liked working with Andre.
Yes. Game Explain
was a really great outlet to work with. IGN is always good. You know, we're working very closely on video stuff with like Brian Altano and Kat. Yeah. What else?
With IGN, it did help that they had people who were dedicated to Nintendo.
Yeah.
So they were really knowledgeable, really focused on that. But also just like extremely on top of things, extremely like you would never have to worry about like IGN breaking an embargo or not knowing the details of doing something dumb like that. Yeah. Never had to worry about that.
Game Informer too is like an IGN where they were like just very professional, very trustworthy.
Very good. We
always liked everyone has to go through the rite of passage where you go to Minneapolis on an IGN press trip, and it's like, yeah, you got to do it at least one time. All of us have done it one time, and it's always fun to like go down to their office, you know, and like do the thing. So yeah, all of those sort of interactions were really great, and we still are, you know, good friends and in contact with those people that work at those media outlets. That's been great to maintain our good relationship with them.
Yeah, IGN would have been my pick as well. Tuskcube's next. Hi, Kit and Krysta. It seems that now the well of potential Wii U ports has run dry, Zelda excluded, that Nintendo could be turning to the idea of upscale 3DS games with Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon as an example. Thus, I ask, what 3DS games do you think would best suit having a Switch port, and which would you want most? Thank you for your time.
Tamagotchi Life.
Oh.
Say it here and say it again. Tamagotchi Life. Where is it?
That was not on my list.
I want the smaller, like, niche-y kind of 3DS games. Like, Tamagotchi Life Rhythm Heaven is another one that we always talk about. I know Fantasy Life is coming, so I won't keep harping on that. But that's another.
But do you want those specific? Do you want those specific games, or do you just want any like a new Tamagotchi Life?
Well, if they're not making a new Tamagotchi Life, just give me the port. I'm good with that.
All right.
Don't bother then if you're not going to make one. You know,
Kid Icarus has to be mentioned here.
Oh my gosh, Kid
Icarus! It needs a new audience and it needs a new control scheme badly.
New control scheme.
But that game would that is the poster child for this question.
That is
the other one that I really thought was going to happen early on, but never did, and I was so surprised at was Metroid: Samus Returns, because that was a very late 3DS release where I feel like a lot of people had moved on. It could have very easily been, you know, ported over to the, there was no like touchscreen stuff. There was no like 3DS specific stuff. It would have been, and it could have been such a great lead in to Metroid Dread of like, oh yeah, here's this 2D game. We're just adding to the legions of 2D Metroid on the Switch. I'm still surprised that didn't happen. I was sure it was going to happen. And it didn't.
You were shocked and appalled.
I was. What a bad move to not do that. Come on.
Bummer. some of those Mario and Luigi games too. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Like I am happy because I never played Mario RPG before. But I was a little disappointed because I really wanted a Mario and Luigi RPG.
Oh, I think you'll love this game.
Really? Okay.
I think you will. Yeah.
Okay.
You can get on the Geno gang. You know Geno?
Geno for Smash.
Geno for Smash. Well, now you'll know Geno for reals.
For reals.
You might be more of a Mallow person, to be honest, though. I think you'll be more of a Mallow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Question. Well, I will see.
Last question is from Zeroid. Hey, Kit and Krysta, I have a question regarding what you think Nintendo's plan is for introducing their next console. I think many people rightly believe they will not reveal it in a direct because Nintendo basically never talks about hardware in directs. So I assume there will be a live event, but they probably can't just announce a live event without telling people what it's for, because everyone will be able to guess the topic anyway. Why else would they have a live event? So what exactly do you think their strategy will be? We're going back to the Switch 2 topic here.
Okay. I do think they might make a mention of it in a direct and say like more info to come or something like that. Or they could just drop like a standalone announcement for it, like a standalone trailer or something like that,
Yeah.
which they've done, which is what they did for Switch.
I agree. I think they do exactly what they did with Switch because that worked super well. You can make a couple minute video that very clearly shows off all the use cases, all the games, all the implementations in a really tight package and gets things started. And obviously later on you have more opportunities to go deeper on all of those things. But yeah, I don't think they have a reason to go away from that. And I don't think a live event would actually work that well unless they're planning to talk about it in a lot of detail in depth.
Or planning to let people touch it.
Right away. Let them play it.
Right away. So they might just announce it in a trailer with all the info, and then like when it's closer to launch, they might do that preview event that we did in New York for Switch. People will get to go and they'll get to get hands-on and play the games, and they'll do a big setup for that.
Yeah.
And that'll be that.
Right. And those are our questions.
All right. Another beautiful episode, but we cannot forget our wonderful superstars. So let's shout them out right now.
Let's go.
Aaron Hash.
Ben Eichhorn.
Maru Mayhem.
Eigenverse.
Kiss My Flapjack.
Mike Chin.
Mr. Rogers.
Roy Eschke.
Switching It Up _
Safazon.
The Shark Among Men.
VGM Life.
Link, the hero of Winds.
Angela Bycroft.
Turbocharged Nerd.
Thomas O'Rourke.
Kyle LaBeouf.
Christopher Lara.
Simon.
Frederick Ulf Conradson.
And Andrew Uhas.
I'm now in the underscore gang thanks to Discord's new naming thing.
I saw that.
That was my big solution to that.
Underscore.
That's me now. You didn't do it though. I can't believe it.
I don't have to. My name was fine.
Your name's too weird. All right. Time to shout out our One Up Club subscribers as well.
Aaron Burgundy.
Adam and Ansley.
Ajan Malari.
Ale Alejandra.
Alexandra Pratt.
Astrodev.
Bad Moon Horizon.
Benji B.
Bookham Dano.
Brad SF56.
Brooke Obscura.
Brookie Kazooie.
Bruce Dash.
Chelly Squirrel.
Christopher Lay.
Cozy Tar.
Captain Alex.
Sea Roper 17.
Daniel Cold.
Daniel Phillips.
Dachshund.
Dadash.
Dolce.
Dino Punch.
Elite Peach.
Elix 780.
Esparts 50.
Fart Priest 69.
Furbound.
Fernie and Just Forever.
Fox Deploy.
Fred Rossi.
Garrett Holfish.
Garth the Wolf.
Gartooth.
G-Sun 101.
Ian Shea.
Iris Marin.
Israel Izzy.
Jay Rando.
Jabroni Jones.
JBJ.
Jeffrey Hernandez.
Jerry 92602.
Jesse Hernandez.
John Responte.
Jonathan Rowe.
Jordan Collette.
Jordan Hemmerly.
Joseph DeHaze.
Joshua Clements.
Juji Fruit.
Just Camtro.
Justin Lemminger.
Cairo Trigger.
Kawa 2796.
Keith Kwan.
Kelp Shake.
Kevin Delane.
Kilo Kibo.
Chrisu.
Christopia Party With Me.
Kyle Gamer Barry Rookie.
Kyle Kretzer.
Kyler Nelson.
Linnell Stickman.
Lennis Sullivan.
Lit.
Mad Dog 5981.
Marky Man 64.
Matt Pangy.
Mecha Dragon 101.
Megan,
Michael Cravens.
Mikey,
Modamania.
Mr. Andy Pong,
Mr. Beans and Dip.
MSN Poke Gamer,
Mytran.
Nasir,
Nathan Burkhardt.
Nick E,
Ninja 11.
Panda Buns,
Palsy Pace.
Paul Gale Network,
Prime Factor.
Prince Charmless,
Reaver.
Rain Tech,
Renee Rivers.
Rick Alvarado,
Wrath 1.
RJ Kern,
Rob Osborne.
Rox,
Rianetta.
Sam Nealand,
Sharif Jackson.
Shinryu,
Slowbro.
Shrews,
Silly Ferret.
SJ Sharky 777,
Spicy Munchkin.
Steel Citron,
Tales of Link.
Tefew,
Terra Storm.
Thomas Alvarez,
Topher Schmofer.
Travis Torline,
Troopage.
Tugs Puppy Bear,
Tuskoob.
Tyler Geis,
Vesves.
Video Game Stupid,
Virtual Bot.
Weeb Kingdom,
Wicked Davy.
Will Ernst,
Will Johnson.
Zudaverf,
Zelgaroth.
Zapani,
And Zroid.
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 Well, I think that your prison yard time is almost over, so we better wrap up this podcast.
The light is coming out now. The lighting is much better than when we started.
Oh, the lighting is going down here, where it's getting later, and then the days,
Well,
the days and the nights, the days.
We got
and
one
the nights.
sun, and we're in two different places.
And one moon. We're apart in the universe. Exciting times. All right. Well, don't forget to subscribe to us at patreon.com/Kit and Krysta. You are keeping all of this going, so thank you so much. And yeah, what have you got to say?
If you're watching this on video, you can go ahead and subscribe to the Kit and Krysta channel on YouTube. Give this podcast a thumbs up and leave us a comment. And if you're listening on audio, you can also subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and a written review, please.
Please. Don't forget to follow us on the socials. We are Kit and Krysta on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. I finally have the social credentials.
Not for long.
It's so
Temporarily.
fun.
Temporarily.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I'll be changing
didn't
those.
know
I'll be
that.
changing those passwords as soon as I get back.
You are?
Changing the locks.
But you just gave me a key.
Again.
This is
Not
a
for long.
troubled relationship. It's troubled. All right, friends. We have to let Kit go get some breakfast, and I need to go to bed. So we'll see you guys later.
Bye.